Most traders believe profitability comes from discovering the right strategy. They chase indicators, secret setups, and market opinions, convinced that one more piece of information will finally remove uncertainty. But the market was never designed to reward information. It rewards alignment. The truth is uncomfortable. Two traders can trade the same system, in the same market, with the same data, and one will consistently make money while the other slowly destroys their account. The difference is not intelligence, it is not effort, it is not even experience. The difference is skill, not technical skill, but mental skill. Profitability is not a function of predicting what the market will do next. It is a function of how well you execute when you don't know what will happen next, and that requires a very specific internal structure. There are 5 skills every consistently profitable trader has mastered, not consciously, but completely. These skills have nothing to do with being right, and everything to do with being in sync with uncertainty. Until these skills are internalized, the market will always feel personal, emotional, and unfair. Profitability begins at the exact moment you stop trying to control outcomes, not when you find a better entry, not when you refine your exit, not when you add another confirmation. It begins when you finally understand at a deep, emotional level that the market does not respond to your needs, your hopes, or your fears. Most traders enter the market believing their job is to predict. They believe if they analyze enough, study enough, think hard enough, they can remove uncertainty. This belief feels logical. It feels responsible. And it is the primary reason most traders never become consistently profitable. The market is an environment of infinite variables. No amount of intelligence can account for every participant, every decision, every shift in perception happening simultaneously. When you try to control outcomes in such an environment, you are placing your emotional well-being in something that is inherently uncontrollable, that creates fear. And fear is the enemy of consistency. The desire to control outcomes does not come from strategy. It comes from discomfort. The human mind is wired to avoid pain and seek certainty. When money is involved, that wiring becomes even more aggressive. Every tick against your position feels personal. Every pullback feels like a threat. Every loss feels like failure. So the mind reacts by trying to interfere. You move stops. You exit early. You hesitate on valid trades. You add to losers, not because the market told you to, but because your mind is trying to regain control. The irony is this: the more you try to control outcomes, the more chaotic your results become. Control creates tension. Tension creates emotional decision-making. Emotional decision-making destroys edge. Consistently profitable traders understand something most traders resist. They do not control outcomes, and they never will. What they control is process. They control risk. They control position size. They control execution. And they accept fully that once they enter a trade, the outcome is no longer theirs. This acceptance is not passive. It is not careless. It is disciplined surrender. When you truly accept that any trade can be a loss, your relationship with the market changes. Losses stop being surprises. They stop being threats. They stop demanding emotional reaction. They become expected events within a larger series. Most traders say they accept risk, but their behavior proves otherwise. True risk acceptance means you are emotionally prepared for the loss before you enter the trade. If a loss still creates anger, fear, or self-doubt, risk was not accepted. It was merely tolerated. The market exposes this immediately. The moment price moves against you, your beliefs show up. If you need the trade to work, you will try to control it. If you are okay with it failing, you will let it unfold. Control is rooted in attachment. Attachment to money, attachment to being right, attachment to identity. When your self-worth is tied to outcomes, every trade becomes a psychological battlefield. You are no longer trading probabilities, you are defending ego. Probability-based thinking cannot coexist with outcome control. You cannot think in probabilities while emotionally reacting to individual results. Probability thinking requires neutrality. Neutrality requires letting go of control. The market operates on randomness in the short term and structure in the long term. Individual trades are random. Series outcomes are predictable. Profitable traders align themselves with this truth. Losing traders fight it. When you stop trying to control outcomes, you stop micromanaging trades. You stop watching every tick as if it defines you. You stop interpreting normal market behavior as danger. You give your edge the space it needs to express itself. This is where confidence comes from, not from winning, but from knowing you followed your plan regardless of outcome. Control-oriented traders seek relief. They want reassurance. They want confirmation. They want certainty. They ask questions like, what if this one fails? What if I give back profits? What if I'm wrong again? Process-oriented traders ask only one question: did I execute my rules? That question is empowering because it is answerable. You cannot control whether the market moves in your favor. You can control whether you acted in alignment with your plan. That is where psychological stability lies. The moment you stop trying to control outcomes, discipline stops feeling forced. It becomes natural. Why? Because discipline is no longer fighting emotion, it is aligned with belief. When your beliefs match the reality of the market, there is no internal conflict, trying to control at sea. OMS is exhausting. It creates constant vigilance, stress, and emotional fatigue. Letting go creates clarity. It frees mental energy. It allows you to see opportunities without distortion. This is why simplicity works. Not because simple strategies are superior, but because they reduce the need for interpretation, and interpretation is often a disguised attempt at control. When traders fail, they often blame the market, the strategy, or themselves. Rarely do they question the belief that they should be able to control what happens next. That belief is the root of frustration. The market is not a test you pass by being smart enough. It is a mirror that reflects how you deal with uncertainty. If uncertainty creates anxiety, the mirror shows hesitation and inconsistency. If uncertainty is accepted, the mirror shows calm execution. Profitability is not about avoiding losses. Losses are unavoidable. Profitability is about avoiding self-sabotage, and self-sabotage comes from trying to control what cannot be controlled. The professional mindset is not, I need this trade to work. It is, I don't care if this trade works. Not because the trader is indifferent to results, but because they understand results emerge from consistency, not control. Once you stop trying to control outcomes, patience becomes easier. Waiting for valid setups feels natural. Overtrading disappears. FOMO loses its grip. You are no longer chasing certainty, you are executing probability. This is the paradox of trading. Letting go gives you control. Not control over the market, but control over yourself. And that is the only control that matters. The market does not reward those who need to win. It rewards those who can lose well. When you master that, profitability is no longer something you chase. It becomes something that happens naturally, quietly, consistently. Consistency is not something you install into a trading strategy. It is not created by better indicators, tighter entries, or more sophisticated analysis. Consistency is a psychological skill, and until it is developed internally, no external method will ever produce stable results. Most traders believe inconsistency comes from the market. They think volatility, news, manipulation, or bad luck is the reason the results fluctuate. In reality, the market is doing exactly what it has always done: move in unpredictable ways. The inconsistency lives in the trader, not in the charts. Two traders can follow the same rules and get dramatically different results. One executes flawlessly, trade after trade. The other hesitates, interferes, overtrades, or abandons the plan entirely. The difference is not knowledge. It is the ability to remain psychologically stable in an environment designed to trigger emotion. The market constantly applies pressure. It pressures your patience, your confidence, your sense of control, and your identity. Every price movement invites interpretation. Every loss challenges belief. Every W tempts overconfidence. Consistency requires the ability to remain unchanged internally while everything external is in motion. Most traders are not inconsistent because they lack discipline. They are inconsistent because they lack belief alignment. They say they trust their strategy, but their behavior shows doubt. They say they accept risk, but their emotions reveal attachment. They say they understand probabilities, but they react to single outcomes. Consistency emerges when beliefs match reality. The reality is simple but uncomfortable. Any trade can be a loss. When this truth is not fully accepted, the mind looks for ways to avoid pain. That avoidance shows up as hesitation, early exits, missed trades, and emotional decision-making. Inconsistency is not random, it is a protective response. The trader who interferes with trades is not reckless. They are uncomfortable. They are trying to regain emotional safety. And safety in their mind comes from control. But control is an illusion in a probabilistic environment. Professional traders do not feel safer because they control the market. They feel safer because they no longer need to. Consistency begins with emotional neutrality. Neutrality does not mean apathy. It means the absence of emotional charge tied to outcomes. A win does not inflate self-worth. A loss does not diminish it. Trades are information, not judgment. This is why consistency cannot be forced. You cannot will yourself into calm execution while you're Beliefs are screaming fear. You must retrain the beliefs themselves. That process takes repetition, exposure, and self-awareness. Every time you execute a trade exactly as planned, especially when it feels uncomfortable, you reinforce the belief that discipline is safe. Over time, the mind stops resisting. What once required effort becomes automatic. Most traders sabotage consistency by evaluating themselves trade by trade. This creates emotional whiplash. One loss feels like failure. One win feels like validation. This emotional roller coaster guarantees inconsistent behavior. Traders evaluate themselves based on process, not results. They measure success by how well they followed rules, not by how much money they made today. This shifts focus from outcome to execution, and execution is controllable. The need for consistency exposes a deeper issue: identity. Many traders unconsciously link trading results to self-worth. Being right feels good. Being wrong feels painful. When identity is on the line, the mind will do anything to avoid loss, even if that means breaking rules. Consistency requires identity separation. You are not your last trade. You are not your equity curve. You are the decision maker executing a statistical edge over time. When identity is removed from outcomes, emotional pressure disappears. This is why simplicity works better than complexity. Complex systems invite interpretation. Interpretation invites emotion. Emotion invites inconsistency. Impl. Rule-based systems reduce decision points, making consistent execution easier, but even the simplest system will fail in the hands of a trader who has not developed psychological consistency. The system does not create consistency, the trader does. Consistency also requires patience, not passive waiting, but confident waiting. The ability to do nothing without feeling like you are missing something. This is one of the hardest psychological skills to master, because the market constantly creates the illusion of opportunity. Inconsistent traders feel urgency. Consistent traders feel readiness. Urgency comes from fear of missing out, fear of falling behind, fear of not being enough. Readiness comes from trust in process. When you trust that opportunities are endless and outcomes are uncertain, waiting feels natural. Another hidden enemy of consistency is the desire to avoid boredom. Many traders overtrade not because they see opportunity, but because they feel uncomfortable doing nothing. This discomfort leads to forced trades, random entries, and emotional decisions. Consistency thrives in boredom. Boredom means nothing is demanding your emotional reaction. It means you're not being pulled into impulsive action. Professional trading is often uneventful, and that is a sign of mastery. Consistency also means accepting that losing streaks are part of the process. When traders expect smooth equity curves, normal drawdowns feel like failure. This creates emotional pressure to fix something that isn't broken. Consistent traders expect variance. They are prepared for it. They do not change behavior during drawdowns unless data, not emotion, demand adjustment. This emotional stability allows edge to express itself fully. Ultimately, consistency is the ability to act the same way regardless of outcome, emotion, or recent performance. It is psychological endurance. It is emotional resilience. It is trust in probability over impulse. You do not become consistent by trying harder. You become consistent by letting go of the beliefs that create resistance. The market does not reward brilliance. It rewards repeatability. Repeatability is not a strategy, it is a state of mind. When that state is achieved, profits are no longer forced. They are the natural byproduct of calm, disciplined execution again and again, without drama. The market does not reward intelligence. It never has. It rewards emotional neutrality. This truth is difficult to accept because it contradicts how most people believe success is achieved. In school, in careers, and in life, intelligence is rewarded with progress. In market, intelligence without emotional control becomes a liability. Some of the smartest people struggle the most in trading. They analyze deeply, see multiple possibilities, and understand complex relationships. Yet when real money is at risk, their intelligence amplifies fear, doubt, and overthinking. The market does not punish them for being WRO. It punishes them for reacting emotionally to uncertainty. Emotional neutrality means you can observe price movement without assigning meaning to it. A candle is just a candle. A loss is just a loss. A win is just a win. There's no judgment, no excitement, no fear attached. This is not emotional suppression, it is emotional maturity. The market is an environment where anything can happen at any time. When you enter this environment expecting certainty, your intelligence searches for explanations, predictions, and control, but intelligence cannot dominate randomness. The attempt creates frustration and emotional instability. Most traders believe their job is to outthink the market. In reality, the market does not need to be outthought, it needs to be respected. Respect means accepting uncertainty without resistance. Emotional reactions are not caused by the market. They are caused by beliefs about what the market should do. When price moves against you, it is not the movement that creates pain, it is the expectation that it should not have happened. Neutral traders have no such expectations. They do not need the market to behave in a specific way. They have prepared for every outcome emotionally before entering the trade. Because of this, nothing surprises them. Intelligence seeks answers. Emotional neutrality accepts questions without needing immediate resolution. This difference is critical. The moment you need an answer, you lose objectivity. The moment you lose objectivity, you abandon your plan. Highly intelligent traders often struggle with letting go. They believe there must be a reason for every movement, a logic behind every fluctuation. This belief keeps them mentally engaged when they should be emotionally detached. The market does not operate on logic in the short term. It operates on order flow, perception, fear, greed, and randomness. Intelligence that tries to impose structure on randomness creates stress. Emotional. Neutral traders understand that they do not need to understand everything. They need to execute consistently. Understanding feels productive, but execution is what produces results. Emotional neutrality allows you to follow rules without internal debate. There is no argument between what you planned and what you feel. When price approaches your stop, there is no panic. When it approaches your target, there's no greed. The plan remains unchanged. This state cannot be faked. It is developed through experience and repetition. Every time you stay in a trade according to plan despite discomfort, you weaken emotional attachment. Over time, the discomfort disappears. Intelligence often creates complexity. Emotional neutrality creates simplicity. Simple execution outperforms complex thinking in an environment of uncertainty. Many traders sabotage themselves by trying to be clever. They look for perfect entries, optimal exits, and superior insight. In doing so, they delay action, hesitate, and miss opportunities. Neutral traders act when conditions are met, not when certainty is achieved. The market rewards this decisiveness, not because the trader is smarter, but because they are stable. Emotional neutrality also protects traders from overconfidence. Wins do not inflate ego. This prevents reckless behavior after success. Losses do not damage self-belief. This prevents revenge trading after failure. Intelligent traders often ride emotional waves: confidence after wins, doubt after losses. These emotional swings create inconsistent behavior. Neutral traders remain the same after both. The goal of trading is not to be right. It is to execute well. Being right feels good, but it is irrelevant. Execution produces expectancy. Expectancy produces results. The market does not care how intelligent you are. It does not reward effort, insight, or intention. It responds only to behavior over time. Emotional neutrality allows you to participate without needing validation. You are no longer seeking approval from the market. You are simply doing your job. This is why traders who chase brilliance often fail, while traders who master simplicity succeed. The market favors those who remove themselves emotionally from outcome. Neutrality does not mean you lack passion or ambition. It means your ambition is expressed through discipline, not impulse. Passion directed at outcome creates suffering. Passion directed at process creates consistency. The market is not impressed by intelligence. It is indifferent to it, but it consistently rewards those who can remain calm when others panic, patient when others rush, and disciplined when others react. When you develop emotional neutrality, trading stops being stressful. The constant internal dialogue fades. Decisions become clear. Execution becomes effortless. At that point, profitability is no longer a struggle. It is no longer something you chase with intelligence. It is something that emerges naturally from psychological balance. The market is not a test of how smart you are. It is a test of how emotionally stable you can remain. In uncertainty, those who pass that test are not the smartest, they are the calmest. The market does not reward brilliance, prediction, or emotional intensity. It rewards calm execution in the face of uncertainty. When you stop trying to prove how intelligent you are and start training emotional neutrality, trading transforms from a struggle into a process. Losses lose their power. Wins lose their influence, and discipline becomes natural. In that state, consistency is no longer forced, it is automatic. The trader who remains emotionally unchanged by outcomes is the one the market ultimately rewards, not because they are smarter, but because they are aligned with how the market truly works.